I want to share this emptiness with you, not fill the silence with false notes or put tracks through the void. I want to share this wilderness of failure. The others have built you a highway, fast lanes in both directions. I offer you a journey without direction, uncertainty, and no sweet conclusion. When the light faded, I went in search of myself. There were many paths and many destinations. Blue light, a spectral light. Leni's full moon falling through a crystal grotto in the high Dolomites. The villagers draw their curtains against this blue. Blue brings night with it, once in a blue moon. Tacitus tells us of a spectral tattooed army, the Pictish Britons nude in the colour of the Ethiopians, ceruleus, dark blue, not the sharp blue from the paint tube. The blue men of the High Atlas are dyed by the indigo sweated from their clothes. Gunmetal blue, the patina of copper, verdigris on the edge of green. Egyptian blue, a clear, astringent colour that is the blue of the mosque. This is the blue of glaze. The blue Buddha smiles in the realm of joy. He sits on the blue lotus, supported by two blue elephants. The blues of Japan, the work clothes, the blue of the roofs of its houses. The blue work clothes of France, the blue overalls in England, and the blue Levi's that conquered the world. Royal blue of the garter robes, deep cobalt blue. The great master of blue, the French painter Yves Klein. No other painter is commanded by blue, though Cézanne painted more blues than most. Blue gives other colours their vibration. Cézanne. I'm writing this wearing a Japanese workman's coat in tough linen of faded indigo. Indigo is the colour of clothes, cobalt of glass, ultramarine of painting. Indican from India is found in woad, and Indigofera tinctoria. Marco Polo noted the process of dyeing in Kulan. Pull up the plants by the roots, put them in tubs of water till they rot, press out the juice and evaporate it, leaving a paste which is cut up into small pieces and sold. The arrival of indigo in Europe caused consternation. Woad was under threat in 1577 in Germany. A decree prohibited the newly invented pernicious and deceitful eating and corrosive dye called the devil's dye. In France, dyers were required to take oaths not to use indigo. For 2 centuries, indigo was hedged with legislation. The first artificial blue was Russian, discovered early in the 18th century. For the Japanese, the morning glory is the English rose or Dutch tulip, deep blue. It blossoms at dawn and fades in the sunlight. The Japanese sleep under blue mosquito nets to give the illusion of peace and cool. Something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. You say to the boy, "Open your eyes," and when he opens his eyes and sees the light, you make him cry out, saying, "O blue, come forth. O blue, arise. O blue, ascend. O blue, come in." I step off the curb and a cyclist nearly knocks me down. Flying in from the dark, he nearly parted my hair. I step into a blue funk. I caught myself looking at shoes in the shop window. I thought of going in and buying a pair, but stopped myself. The shoes I'm wearing at the moment should be sufficient to walk me out of life. Blue bottle, blue Nile, black and blue, blue blood, blue lies, blue suede shoes, blue lagoon, blue movies, blue beard, blue language, sing in the blues, ice blue, blue balls, blue skies, blue meanies, blue bells, blue flashes in my eyes, blue bottle buzzing, lazy days, the sky blue butterfly sways in the cornflower, lost in the warmth of the blue heat haze, sing in the blues, quiet and slowly, blue of my heart, of my dreams. Slow blue love of Delphinium days. Blue is the universal love in which man bathes. It is the terrestrial paradise. In a field, I am the absence of field. This is always the case. Wherever I am what's missing. When I walk, I part the air, and always the air moves in to fill the spaces where my body's been. We all have reasons for moving. I move to keep things whole. Sometimes things don't go, after all, from bad to worse. Some years, muscadel faces down frost. Green thrives. The crops don't fail. Sometimes a man aims high and all goes well. A people sometimes will step back from war, elect an honest man, decide they care enough that they can't leave a stranger poor. Some men become what they were born for. Sometimes our best efforts do not go amiss. Sometimes we do as we meant to. The sun will sometimes melt a field of sorrow that seemed hard frozen. May it happen for you. I've been given the option of being an inpatient at the hospital or coming in twice a day to be hooked to a drip. My vision will never come back. The retina is destroyed, though when the bleeding stops, what is left of my sight might improve. I have to come to terms with sightlessness. If I lose half my sight, will my vision be halved? Blue transcends the solemn geography of human limits. The way we see things is affected by what we know or what we believe. In the Middle Ages, when men believed in the physical existence of hell, the sight of fire must have meant something different from what it means today. Nevertheless, their idea of hell owed a lot to the sight of fire consuming and the ashes remaining, as well as to their experience of the pain of burns. When in love, the sight of the beloved has a completeness which no words and no embrace can match, a completeness which only the act of making love can temporarily accommodate. The blood of sensibility is blue. I consecrate myself to find its most perfect expression. I hold out my hands before me and slowly part them. At a certain moment, they disappear out of the corner of my eyes. This is how I used to see. Now, if I repeat the motion, this is all I see. The Gautama Buddha instructs me to walk away from illness, but he wasn't attached to a trip. Look left, look down, look up, look right. The camera flash, atomic bright. Photos, the CMV, a green moon, then the world turns magenta. My retina is a distant planet, a red Mars from a boy's own comic, with yellow infection bubbling at the corner. I said, this looks like a planet. And the doctor says, oh, I think it looks like a pizza. Blue stretches, yawns, and is awake. One can know the whole world without stirring abroad. Without looking out of the window, one can see the weight of heaven. The further one goes, the less one knows. In the pandemonium of image, I present you with the universal blue. Blue, an open door to soul, an infinite possibility becoming tangible. I've seen flowers come in stony places, and kind things done by men with ugly faces, and the gold cup won by the worst horse at the races. So I trust, too. Don't bend. Don't water it down. Don't try to make it logical. Don't edit your own soul according to the fashion. Rather, follow your most intense obsessions mercilessly. In a time of hate, love is an act of resistance. In a time of fear, faith is an act of resistance. In a time of misinformation, education is an act of resistance. In a time of poor leadership, community is an act of resistance. In a time like this, joy is an act of resistance. Resist. 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 There are poems that are never written, that simply move across the mind like skywriting on a still day. Slowly the first word drifts west, the last letters dissolve on the tongue, and what is left is the pure blue of insight, without cloud or comfort. How are we perceived, if we are to be perceived at all? For the most part, we are invisible. If the doors of perception were cleansed, then everything would be seen as it is. The dog barks, the caravan passes. Marco Polo stumbles across the blue mountain. Marco Polo stops and sits on a lapis throne by the river Oxus while he is ministered to by the descendants of Alexander the Great. The caravan approaches, blue canvases fluttering in the wind. Blue people from over the sea, ultramarine, have come to collect the lapis with its flecks of gold. The road to the city of Aquavitae is protected by a labyrinth built from crystals and mirrors which in the sunlight cause terrible blindness. The mirrors reflect each of your betrayals, magnify them, and drive you into madness. Blue walks into the labyrinth. Absolute silence is demanded to all its visitors, so their presence does not disturb the poets who are directing the excavations. Digging can only proceed on the calmest of days as rain and wind destroy the finds. The archaeology of sound has only just been perfected, and the systematic cataloguing of words has until recently been undertaken in a haphazard way. Blue watched as word or phrase materialized in scintillating sparks, a poetry of fire which casts everything into darkness with the brightness of its reflections. As a teenager, I used to work for the Royal National Institute for the Blind on their Christmas appeal for radios with dear Miss Punch, 70 years old, who would arrive each morning on her Harley Davidson. In the paper today, 3/4 of the AIDS organizations are not providing safer sex information. One district said they had no queers in their community, but you might try District X. They have a theatre. TB or not TB? That is the question. Blue protects white from innocence. Blue drags black with it. Blue is darkness made visible. Blue protects white from innocence. Blue drags black with it. Blue is darkness made visible. Over the mountains is the shrine to Rita, where all at the end of the line call. Rita is the saint of lost cause, the saint of all who are at their wits' end, who are hedged in and trapped by the facts of the world. Prayer to St. Rita. The blue, the gold, the pink, the immaterial, the void, the architecture of air, the urbanism of air, the climatization of vast geographical spaces for a return of human life to the legendary Edenic state. St. Rita of Cascia, I ask you to intercede with God the Almighty Father that he may always grant me, in the name of the Son, Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit and the Holy Virgin, the grace of living in my works, and that they may always become more beautiful, and that he may also grant me the grace that I may discover continually and regularly new things in art, each time more beautiful, even if, alas, I am not always worthy to be a tool for creating great beauty. May all that emerges from me be beautiful. So be it. Eve Klein. Creating is not a somewhat frivolous game. The creator has committed himself to the fearful adventure of taking upon himself to the very end the perils risked by his creatures. We cannot suppose a creation that does not spring from love. How can a man place before himself something as strong as himself, which he will have to scorn or hate? But the creator will then charge himself with the weight of his character's sins. I wish for a moment to focus attention on the reality of supreme happiness in despair. When one is suddenly alone, confronting one's sudden ruin, when one witnesses the irredeemable destruction of one's work and self. I would give all the wealth of this world, indeed it must be given, to experience the desperate and secret state which no one knows I know. Hitler, alone, in the cellar of his palace, during the last minutes of the defeat of Germany, surely experienced that moment of pure light, fragile and solid lucidity, the awareness of his fall. Though saintliness is my goal, I cannot tell what it is. My point of departure is the word itself, which indicates the state closest to moral perfection, of which I know nothing, save that without it, my life would be vain. Unable to give a definition of saintliness, no more than I can of beauty, I want at every moment to create it, that is, to act so that everything I do may lead me to it, though it is unknown to me, so that at every moment I may be guided by a will to saintliness, until I am so luminous that people will say, he is a saint, or, more likely, he was a saint. I'm being led to it by a constant groping. What are you seeking? The fathomless blue of bliss. To be an astronaut of the void, leave the comfortable house that imprisons you with reassurance. Remember, to be going and to have are not eternal. Fight the fear that engenders the beginning, the middle, and the end. For blue, there are no boundaries or solutions. How did my friends cross the Cobalt River? With what did they pay the ferryman? As they set out for the indigo shore under this jet-black sky, some died on their feet with a backward glance. Did they see death with the hellhounds pulling a dark chariot, bruised blue-black, growing dark in the absence of light? Did they hear the blast of trumpets? We all contemplated suicide. We hoped for euthanasia. We were lulled into believing morphine dispelled pain, rather than making it tangible, like a mad Disney cartoon transforming itself into every conceivable nightmare. pleases me, the traveller on the bus says. Not the radio or the morning newspaper, nor the citadels on the hills. I want to cry. The driver says, wait until you get to the station and then cry alone all you want. A woman says, me too. Nothing pleases me. I guided my son to my grave. He liked it and slept there without saying goodbye. A college student says, nor does anything please me. I studied archaeology, but didn't find identity in stone. Am I really me? And a soldier says, me too. Nothing pleases me. I always besiege a ghost besieging me. The edgy driver says, here we are, almost near our last stop. Get ready to get off. And then they scream, we want what's beyond the station. Keep going. As for myself, I say, let me off here. I'm like them, nothing pleases me, but I am worn out from travel. What will remain of the white clouds offering? An elderberry blossom. What will remain of the blue waves drizzle? The cadence of time. What will remain of the hemorrhage of a green idea? Water in home oak veins. What will remain of the tears of love? A soft tattoo in violet. What will remain of the dust of searching for a meaning? The path of ardour. What will remain of the road of the great journey to the unknown? The traveller's song to the horse. What will remain of dream's mirage? The sky's trace on the violin. What will remain of thing meeting with nothing? Divinity's sense of security. What will remain of the Arabic poet's speech? A chasm and a thread of smoke. What will remain of your own speech? A necessary forgetfulness of the memory of place.
DHPG, the drug for which I had come into the hospital to be dripped twice a day.
The side effects of DHPG, the drug for which I have come into hospital to be dripped twice a day, are low white blood cell count, increased risk of infection, low platelet count, which may increase the risk of bleeding, low red blood cell count, anemia, fever, rash, abnormal liver function, chills, swelling of the body, edema, infections, malaise, irregular heartbeat, high blood pressure, hypertension, low blood pressure, hypotension, abnormal thoughts or dreams, loss of balance, ataxia, coma, confusion, dizziness, headache, nervousness, damage to nerves, paresthesia,
psychosis,
sleepiness, somnolence, shaking, nausea, vomiting, loss of appetite, anorexia, diarrhea, bleeding from the stomach or intestines, intestinal hemorrhage, abdominal pain, increased number of one type of white blood cell, low blood sugar, shortness of breath, hair loss, alopecia, itching, pruritus, hives, blood in the urine, abnormal kidney functions, increased blood urea, redness, inflammation, pain or irritation, phlebitis, retinal detachments have been observed in patients both before and after initiation of the therapy. The drug has caused decreased sperm production in animals and may cause infertility in humans and birth defects in animals. Although there is no information in human studies, it should be considered a potential carcinogen since it causes tumours in animals. If you're concerned about any of the above side effects, or if you would like any further information, please ask your doctor. In order to be put on the drug, you have to sign a piece of paper stating you understand that all these illnesses are a possibility.
I really can't see what I'm to do, so I'm going to sign it.
Rascal children of Gaza, you who constantly disturb me with your screams under my window, you who filled every morning with rush and chaos, you who broke my vase and stole the lonely flower on my balcony. Come back and scream as you want, and break all the vases, steal all the flowers. Come back. A poet is a fellow who spends his time thinking about what it is that's wrong, and although he knows he can never quite find out what this wrong is, he goes right on thinking it out and writing it down. A poet is a blind optimist. The world is against him for many reasons, but the poet persists. He believes that he is on the right track, no matter what any of his fellow men say. In his eternal search for truth, the poet is alone. He tries to be timeless, in a society built on time. Life is only worth living because we hope it will get better and we'll all get home safely. Let ruin end here. Let him find honey where there was once a slaughter. Let him enter the lion's cage and find a field of lilacs. Let this be the healing. And if not, let it be. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. In which I take a deep breath and let it out slowly, so that it leaves my body like a long white train pulling out of the station, on the platform of which I am standing with one hand to my brow and one hand waving in the manner of a tired queen at the tail of a great procession through all the green and crowded alleys of my childhood, grateful for all the tiny silver hatpins that keep everything in place. When death comes, like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me and snaps the purse shut, when death comes like the measles pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what's it going to be like, that cottage of darkness? I am a mannish, muff-diving size queen with bad attitude and arse-licking psychophag, molesting the flies of privacy, bawling lesbian boys, a perverted heterodemon crossing purpose with death. I am a cock-sucking, straight-acting lesbian man with ball-crushing bad manners, laddish nymphomaniac politics, spunky sexist desires of incestuous inversion and incorrect terminology. I am a not gay. If you think you're beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win but think you can't, it's almost a cinch you won't. If you think you'll lose, you're lost. For out of the world we find success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man. But soon or late, the man who wins is the one who thinks he can. Tea-time drunk, weaving his way down Old Compton Street in the blinding sun, stops me and with a smile says, "Son, I want to give you 2 shillings. I was quite taken aback, as my hand was already in my pocket fumbling for change. He gave me the 2 shillings. I thanked him and he said, "Good day." "It is," I said, "all sunlight." Impatient youths of the sun, burning with many colours, flick combs through hair in bathroom mirrors, fucking with fusion and fashion, dance in the beams of emerald lasers, mating on suburban duvets, cum-splattered nuclear breeders. What a time that was. A young man frail as Belson walks slowly down the corridor, his pale green hospital pyjamas hanging off him. It's very quiet, just the distant coughing. My jugsy eye blots out the young man who has walked past. My field of vision. This illness knocks you for 6, just as you start to forget it. Bullet in the back of my head might be easier. You know, you can take longer than the Second World War to get to the grave. All the old taboos of bloodlines and blood banks. Blue blood and bad blood, our blood and your blood. I sit here, you sit there. The darkness comes in with the tide. The year slips on the calendar. Your kiss flares, a match struck in the night, flares and dies. My slumber broken. Kiss me again. Kiss me. Kiss me again. And again. Never enough. Greedy lips. Speedwell eyes. Blue skies. If you have time to chatter, read books. If you have time to read, walk into mountain, desert, and ocean. If you have time to walk, sing songs and dance. If you have time to dance, sit quietly, you happy, lucky idiot. Pearl fishes in azure seas, deep waters, washing the Isle of the Dead, in coral harbours, amphora spill gold across the still seabed. We lie there, fanned by the billowing sails of forgotten ships, tossed by the mournful winds of the deep. Lost boys, sleep forever, in a dear embrace, salt lips touching in submarine gardens, cool marble fingers touch an antique smile, shell sounds whisper, deep love drifting on the tide forever, the smell of him, dead good looking, in beauty's summer, his blue jeans around his ankles, bliss in my ghostly eye. Kiss me on the lips, on the eyes. Our name will be forgotten. In time, no one will remember our work. Our life will pass like the traces of a cloud and be scattered like mist that is chased by the rays of the sun. For our time is the passing of a shadow, and our lives will run like sparks through the stubble. I place a delphinium, blue, upon your grave.